Christian parenting.
God knows he exactly the right parent for exactly that kid, that child. Like, God knew, and he will give you all you need to, whether it's strength and energy to get through the tough days, whether it's wisdom to steward them, to grow into little people who love Jesus and are functional in society, he will give you what you need.
Hey, families, welcome back to the Call to Love podcast. I am so grateful to be spending the next few moments with you. And as always, I am so honored to get to come before you each week and bring you content that is all about the practical, the clinical, and always, most importantly, the biblical aspects of the adoption and foster care callings. Today, we are speaking directly to the heart of the waiting parent. And if you're anything like me, the waiting is just brutal on the heart, soul, mind, and body. And so joining me for this conversation and to speak hope and life into you, if you are in that season right now, is Alice Matagora. She has her own beautiful story to share about her experience with waiting and what she has learned along the way. She's also the author of the newly released children's book, You Are My Miracle, where she encourages each child with the truth that they are, in fact, a miracle. And she inspires us as waiting parents to wait with hope. Alice, welcome. Thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
Absolutely. So I always love for our listeners to be able to just get to know our guests a little bit. And so you have a really amazing story. This is a beautiful book that's come as a result of it. But let's back up and have you tell us a little bit about you and your family.
Yeah. Okay. So I live in Orange County, California, Mission Viejo, with my husband, RJ. So we've been married for 17 years.
Okay.
And we have a son who is 6, Reggie. He's a junior. So he's RJJR. So he's 6 years old. And my daughter, Clementine, is 3 years old. So if you do the math, you can see that we got married. We were married for a long time. We had our dog for 10 years, 10 of those years, and no kids. I am an older mom. We are older parents. We had to wait quite a bit, probably until year 11 of our marriage, before we had our kids. So,
wow.
Yeah, we went through all of the treatments, all of the things like meds and IUIs and IVF before God finally gave us our kids. And we're so grateful for them every day.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I had shared with you before we went live, infertility is a big part of the story of a lot of our listeners. And so they can definitely relate to that.
Absolutely.
And the waiting, my goodness, the waiting, 11 years for you. So let's just dive into that. I had mentioned as we got started that just how hard that is on the heart, mind, body, and soul. And so what was that experience like for you in those 11 years of just desperately wanting to be called mom?
I feel like in the beginning, I was kind of a career girly, where I'm like, no, like I'm going to wait to have kids. So we didn't really start trying until year 4 or 5 of marriage. Then we started trying because I'm about in my 30s. So we should probably try. Like my parts are aging. And then ended up like after a couple of years of that, of charting temperatures and all that, it's like nothing. It's like, okay, I feel like it should be easier than this. Maybe we should get things checked out. So then we started doing tests and unexplained infertility, which is the most frustrating of them all. They're all frustrating. It's all true. But like unexplained infertility is like, just tell me I can have a baby or tell me I can't have a baby. Just let me move on, because it would be so much easier instead of like, do we keep hoping? Do we keep waiting? Or like, nope, it just won't happen. Grieve it and move on, So I think in those, there were moments in there where my husband and I were like, it would just be easier to know we can't have kids, so that we can move on. And I think God did a real work in that time in my heart, because I don't think I was 100% sold that I would want to have kids or that I would be a good mom. And I just held all these beliefs about like kids, and this is where this is my brokenness and my family background coming in. Like, kids, they'll ruin your life, they'll ruin your body, they'll ruin your marriage, they'll ruin your career, and I felt that pressure the closer I got to childbearing age, or just starting to try to have a kid. And then as we were going through infertility, it's like, why do I believe that? Where are those messages coming from? Because I
Yes.
want these kids. The longer we didn't have them, the more I'm like, no, but I really want them. Why is it so deeply ingrained in me at the same time that it will change everything, but that it'll ruin everything, that it's like
Right.
that change. So I think God was so kind in using our infertility for me, specifically to work on my heart and to draw out the lies that I had held from my family of origin, from my just culture, culture's view on kids and career and
Yeah.
kids don't mix for women, especially. So, yeah, I
Right.
think it just, I mean, it's a crazy making hope, right? Every month you wait, every month there's like such a disappointing, devastating, like, will you find out that not this month again, not this
Yeah.
month again. So I think there were times when we were like, do we keep going? What do we do? We took a lot of breaks in there from actively trying because it just gets so emotionally like trying in that time.
Yes. Yes. Oh my goodness. You brought up so many things where I'm like, where do I go from that? Because I have so many questions. You had some really great points. And the first thing that really stood out to me in what you were sharing was you weren't just waiting for a result, you were waiting for answers.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, why is this happening or not happening? So you're waiting for answers. You're also waiting for results. You're experiencing that disappointment month in and month out.
Hmm.
And then you talk about all of the lies that you're battling in the back of your head. And I really actually appreciate you bringing that up about, just the mindset of culture and maybe specifically your family of origin. And this, of course, is related to biological kids. So let's tie this into
Hmm.
the conversation related to adoption. There
Hmm.
can be a lot of negativity, and other voices around us that are like, why would you want to welcome in someone else's child? Why
Yeah.
would you
Yeah.
want to introduce yourself to that kind of trauma? Why would
Hmm.
you want to do that? And so you're battling, waiting,
Yeah.
wanting answers, you're wanting the results, you're wanting all this, and your head is just spinning. So
Yep.
Alice, how did you seek the Lord in that season of just all of this coming at you, the
Hmm.
emotions, the questions, the self-reflection? What did your time with the Lord look like during that time?
Oh, yeah. I think um leading up to a certain point, it was kind of denial, not really wanting to engage with the deeper feelings inside, like wanting to
Yeah.
avoid them,
Yeah.
because it's like there's the grief runs so deep and the possibility that this might never happen,
Mm,
um that it's just like, let's just avoid going there at all, because if we don't go there at all, we won't get swallowed up in
yeah.
the grief. Because once the Lord, I was at this Christian infertility conference, Choose Joy, in Southern California. That
Okay.
I don't think it's going on anymore, but that was the first time that I feel like I really engaged with these deeper feelings of longing
Mm,
and desire. And it felt so overwhelming. Like, it is going to consume me. Like, I will die from this pain and the long, like, hope deferred makes the heart sick. That's what the word says.
yes.
So there were seasons and spurts. There was like the denial, like, I don't really, it's fine. Everything's fine. My career's fine. My marriage is fine. Everything is fine. Life is fine. Then I think there's that breaking point, which where like once the Lord got a hold of my heart, then it's felt like a moment by moment. Okay, Lord, my heart and my flesh may fail, but you are the strength of my heart and my portion forever. Like, if you were my only portion forever, God, like, I would be okay. I would learn to be okay. I would be okay. So
Yeah.
I mean, but you should, my journal, so much of that process, my journal is just filled with just raw emotion. So like, I would be so embarrassed if anybody ever read my journal. There are so many fun words, spicy words in there, just crying out to the Lord and processing with him. But I think bringing my pain with him, bringing the prayers to him, just going to him, I think that's what that waiting and hoping process was for me.
Mm, that's so beautiful. I really appreciate you sharing that and how raw that is because I think sometimes we're definitely afraid to go there. I'm like, I don't
Hmm.
have time. I literally have said this
Yeah.
statement in the last couple of years. I don't have time to feel.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's
I
a
don't have
really
time to
scary
fall
place.
apart. I don't have time to
Right.
fall apart.
Exactly. Yes, and I
Hmm.
know so many of our moms can relate to that
Yeah.
because we're juggling whatever whatever we're doing, even if we're waiting to become a mom, we're still juggling a lot,
Yeah.
right? As women.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're trying to process all of this. We're carrying these crazy emotions. And you keep talking about it. And I want to come back to this. You're kind of like on the cusp and on this edge of, do I grieve or do I not?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
you're in this weird thing of, how much do I feel? And I don't have
Mm-hmm.
time to feel. And so there's
Mm-hmm.
all of this going on in you. But I love that you talk about just pouring that out to the Lord. And I
Yeah.
think that sounds like, guys, hear me. Don't let that become cliche for you. Pour it
Mm-hmm.
out to the Lord.
Yes.
He
Yes.
he welcomes it. He is present with you. He can
Mm-hmm.
handle the spicy words. He
Yeah.
can handle the spicy feelings.
Yeah.
I mean, I can remember personally, even after our adoption was fulfilled, after a long season of waiting and failed
Yeah.
adoptions, where I
Mm-hmm.
got the fulfillment, I got the
Yeah.
result. And I came at the Lord super spicy because I was like, this is not what I signed up for. So here's a big takeaway for this part of the conversation. The Lord can
Yeah.
handle our spicy, right,
Oh,
Alice?
yes, absolutely. All he already knows it. It's just
He
like a
does.
matter of whether we feel comfortable saying it to him. So, yeah.
Yes,
Thank you. Thank you.
absolutely. I love that. And he is the safest space for us to express our deepest feelings and
Yeah.
our deepest longings and our grief, and even when we don't have words to the feelings that we're experiencing, but we just feel it in, deep in our bodies.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think that is so beautiful, and such a great reminder even for me. And for those of you, Alice, I'll share this with you, our listeners know this, but if you're new to
Mhm.
the show, we have been in a long seasons of waiting as well, so
Mm.
much that over the course of the last 12, almost 13 years, we've had 10 adoption processes and have waited on those, and only one
Wow.
has ever come to
Oh
fulfillment.
my. Oh my
Only
word.
one. And
Oh.
so it's a whole other conversation of waiting, of you seek this, you wait on it, and then it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So let's go
Yeah.
there for a second in conversation. And you
Mhm.
talked about this a second ago, where you were like, Lord, you are my portion, you are enough.
Yeah.
But let's dive, and I love that. And I think that is the absolute perfect and right answer.
Mhm.
But let's talk about that a little bit for maybe our waiting families, our waiting moms right now, where they're like
Yeah.
wrestling with, should I grieve? Is this really never going to happen? If I come to a point where I understand this really isn't going to happen, how do we
Mhm.
respond in a way that honors the Lord?
Yeah, right. Oh my gosh. Wow. Yeah, what a journey. What a journey that you've been through. I can't imagine to just be on the cusp of hope every time, and then it's like,
It's a great
oh,
way to
like
put it.
just, but yeah, I mean, that's crazy. And then it's like, is it stupid to put myself out there again? Like, I felt like that with
Right.
all of my IUIs. We did 4 IUIs and everyone failed. And it's like, are we being stupid? Like
Right.
to try again? Like, when do we just close the door? And I feel like
Yes.
that's where just the walking with the Lord closely and hearing from him, his like inner spirit promptings, like, keep going, take a
Yeah.
break. For some reason I had okay so I had this dream from before my husband and I met, we're dating, about having a biological kid that I knew that it was mine, and I'd forgotten about it just over the years, over the decades. And then when we were going through infertility, I had the dream came back up again to my mind, like I was reminded of it, and I was like, like, is God, are you asking me to like hope for a biological kid?
Oh,
Like, are you asking me to? Or, I'm not like a prophet by any means. Like, I don't have dreams that come true like that. I have a lot of crazy, vivid dreams, but that was one that kind of stuck with me a little more than normal. I had two dreams about this baby Isabel. My daughter is Clementine Isabel,
oh,
along with some promptings from the Word that made me think like, God, I think that you want us to keep trying, and it just on paper it looks psycho to keep going and to spend the money and to put
right.
ourselves out there again, go through the process again. But I think you're asking me to keep hoping for biological kids,
Mm,
Lord, or to keep praying and keep pursuing. So,
mhm.
and that's something that God speaks to each of us so individually. Like we considered fostering to adopt. I worked as a therapist in the underrepresented community in Los Angeles County, and oh my goodness, there were so many situations there where I'm like, I will adopt you. I want, yeah, I want a kid, and like, I don't know, you're at risk for being placed, and I don't want. Yeah, so I mean, there
Yeah.
are so many times. There's so much need out there. There's so many kids out there that need loving families. So I mean,
Right.
I really, really wrestled with that in that season. Like, do we adopt? And so
Yeah.
yeah, I think I forgot your original question, but
No, that's
you said,
great.
yeah, how do we keep
No,
hoping? No.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so. Yeah. And, maybe when you're wrestling with that question of, okay, even if, maybe that's a great way to
Mhm.
put it, even if,
Mhm.
how do we respond in a way that honors the Lord? But I really appreciate what you were talking about, just that hope component.
Mhm.
And you brought up a really good point too, related to a shame
Mhm.
cycle that we
Mhm.
deal with. Like, why would you keep putting yourself through this? Why
Yeah.
would you keep spending the money on infertility? Why would you keep spending the
Mhm.
money on adoption?
Yeah.
Why are you a glutton for punishment?
I
Like,
know.
there
Yeah.
can be, honestly,
That's what it
there's a,
feels like.
you can fall into shame and not even realize that you're in it.
Mhm. Yeah.
But and I remember feeling, and this is not speaking ill of anybody in my life, but I remember feeling this sense of dread every time we would go to tell our closest people that we were doing this again. And
Mhm.
so I'm kind of having an aha moment as we're having this conversation. I'm like,
Mhm.
that was
Mhm.
shame. I was dealing with shame.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I
Absolutely.
think that's really important for us to call that out
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
to reject it.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So that's a really important point that you bring up. Do you want to add to
Mhm.
that?
Well, I was gonna say, it's so funny because I think that's what the shame feeling that comes up, that's as a result of hope. That's like,
Mm,
God is so delighted by that step. Like, I think we're gonna trust you for this again,
yeah.
this one more time. And so where it
Yeah.
should be like, well done, good and faithful and obedient servant for listening to me and walking with, then the enemy just comes in and barricades
Yes.
us with these
Yep.
lies that it's stupid and it's like dumb and like we're making a mistake and it's whatever. Like, I just think, oh, but the heart of God in it all is like, good job obeying. Like, good job listening
Yes.
and hoping in me,
So good.
hoping that I am the God who can do all of this, the
Yes.
impossible again, even though it's failed like 10 times before. I'm the God who can make it happen, and you keep putting your hope in me.
Hey families, Summer here. Sorry to interrupt the show, but I wanted to make sure that you have subscribed. By subscribing to the Call to Love podcast, that means you will get notified with every new episode each week, and it helps me to know that you are here and a part of the Call to Love community. You can also leave my podcast a review and rate it, which helps others to find the show. This podcast is growing thanks to you, and we hope to continue reaching families who are looking for resources as they live out their own call to love. Thank you so much. And now let's get back to the conversation. Amen. That is exactly right. And that in of itself, the value of learning that lesson
Mm-hmm.
and walking away from a season of waiting, carrying that lesson in a way where you feel it because you've
Mm-hmm.
lived it. I think
Yes.
that is so, so valuable. Are there any other lessons that would stick out to you that you feel like the Lord just really solidified in your heart and in your life as a result of your waiting season?
Hmm. I mean, I uh, I think that one thing is just this idea, and I know this is like such a weird lead in, but like this idea that all life is a miracle. Like, I really,
Yeah.
really believe, and like when we grow our families in any
Yes.
way, it is a miracle. Like,
That's so good.
going through all of these infertility treatments, and then like for you, the adoption process, there is so much that could go wrong at every step along the way to growing your family. It feels like impossible that life happens and that are like their families, like people just walking around out
Yeah.
there, fully healthy, no problem. Like, it just, because I feel like doing IVF and IUIs, it highlighted, well, there's a lot of steps along the way that things could fail. Like
Yeah.
they might not pull enough eggs. Like, my eggs might be really low quality. I might not have any embryos, might not have any healthy embryos, might not take the transfer. It might not stick in my uterus. It might not carry to full, there's just so many steps along the way that I
Yeah.
feel like doing IVF illuminated. I'm like, how is it possible that anybody's out there walking around? And I'm sure it's the same thing with adoption and fostering,
Great
where
point.
it's like,
Yeah.
how all these like legal processes and stuff, like, how is it possible that it goes through at the end? It's a miracle when it happens. And so,
Yes.
yeah, I think that's really one of the key takeaways that
Yeah.
I concluded from that whole process.
I love that. I think that's such a great point because you're right. The unbelievable finite details involved in creating
Yeah.
life.
Mm-hmm.
And then you add to that the adoption process where you have children that are literally, oftentimes on the other side of the planet, but yet
Yes.
God works out he orchestrates every detail to
Yeah.
place that specific child that he sees with a
Mm-hmm.
family that he sees, that he knows
Yes.
and has ordained. And same thing
Yeah.
with our biological children. It truly is a miracle. And that's why
Yeah.
I just, as soon as I heard about your book and just your message in general, I was like, yes, we have to get her on the
Oh,
show
you're so
to be
sweet.
able to hear. And so tell us a little bit about You Are My Miracle and just what that
Oh,
process has been like in writing this book now that
yeah.
you are on the other side of the fulfillment of your hope.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was the easiest book to write. I wrote a nonfiction grown up book before, and that was not like a slog, but more so. I think a little bit. Yeah, this was I wrote it when I was with my kids.
Mm.
So, my son's 6 now. I probably wrote the words when he was 4. My daughter was 2. I just like on the way to the playground right after I signed the contract, he was like, "Did you know you're my miracle? You're my dream come true, my baby. I've waited so long for you." Just came
Mm.
like that, and I'm like, "That's
I
it.
love it.
That's part of it, and it's gonna go through." And even what you were just sharing about God wrote a child's story from across the globe, and your story like brought it together. There's one line in that says, "But God long ago had written your story. Now He wove it with mine for the sake of His glory."
Oh, love it.
Yeah, and I'm
Chills.
like,
Chills.
yeah, just like He brings it all together in His sovereignty.
Yes.
It's beautiful. So, yeah, I think I wrote a lot when the kids were like sleeping. Um, like, we were at the age where we had to be with them to fall asleep. Otherwise they'll like escape the room and,
Right.
and
I remember
jailbreak
those
us.
days.
Yeah. So we'd fall asleep holding their hand, lying down next to them and stuff. And so I just write it then. And so some of my words come from them. Like, as I feel your chest rise and fall with each breath, I thank God for His goodness and kindness and best. For not only did God breathe life into you, He breathed life to our dreams and made them come true. Like, that was holding
Mm.
my son's hand next to him, waiting for him to please, Lord, fall asleep.
Right, right. But how amazing to see that full circle
Oh, yeah.
when you came from a mindset of this is going to destroy my life. This is
Yeah.
going to disrupt my
Ah,
life. This is not
oh,
good.
yeah.
This is not
Mm-hmm.
pleasant. To
Yeah.
see this beautiful journey of the waiting, the longing, the grief, the balancing it all. And then you're sitting there and you're writing those beautiful
I
words
know.
as you are holding the fulfillment
Yeah.
of that hope. I mean, I think that's just incredible. And it really does give me chills as you're reciting this stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh,
Oh.
this is so, so beautiful. I love that.
Mhm.
And I really appreciate you sharing that. I do want to go back to and just have you speak to our moms who are still in that waiting season and they feel
Mm,
really alone in it. I
yeah.
think that's really important for us to bring out because, we talked earlier about journaling and just pouring out our raw and our spicy to the Lord.
Mhm.
And that still can be a very isolating season, especially if
Yeah.
you don't have people in your life that really fully understand or comprehend what you're going
Mhm.
through. So what advice or encouragement do you have for the waiting parent who feels very alone right now?
I would say find community, find people who are on the same path.
Yeah.
Like, just realize there's so many more people out there who are walking the same path of loneliness, and like kind of look around and see who else is walking and take hold of each other's hands and walk together. There's The reality is not everybody's going to understand the
Yeah.
crazy making decisions that we need to make every step along the way, whether it's fostering, adoption, infertility treatments. Not everybody's going to understand, but those who have walked it will. Like, we're kind of
Yeah.
we've we'll share anything about our IVF process with
Sure.
others who are walking through infertility. But there are some parts that we keep to ourselves because we know unless you've walked through it, you don't get it. And
Yeah.
the people are quick to judge about,
Yeah.
just decisions that we make. And it's like, well, if you haven't walked it, then like, I understand why, but it's so I think find your people who are walking through it and connect regularly. And when you feel too tired to keep going, rely on the strength of others around you to kind of like hold your arms up, like Moses and Aaron and Joshua, like hold your hands up
Yeah.
so that you can keep going. And then do the same thing when those around you, their strength is failing, is hold up their arms so that they can keep going. And together we move towards God's fulfillment in
Yeah.
whatever way He fulfills it, our
Yeah.
longing. Yeah,
I think that's so, so good. That's really good advice. Always in need of community.
always.
And the
Yeah.
Lord provides. And that's you ask him.
Mhm.
and he will meet you in that, and with
Yeah.
his companionship, and then bringing along the companionship of others to walk through that. I think that's so important.
Mhm.
We've also got a big set of mamas here that are listening who they are on the other side of that waiting season.
Mhm.
And maybe sometimes the hard of the fulfillment, like I talked about earlier, where I was shaking my fist at the Lord in the closet after he gave me what I hoped and asked for.
Uh-huh.
Um, what advice would you have for those mamas where they're like, they've kind of forgotten? Until this
Mhm.
conversation today, they're like, "I've forgotten what it felt like to hope and
Yeah.
long for this." So maybe they're even struggling to appreciate the
Mhm.
answer on the other side of that yes and that longing and that waiting. What encouragement would you have for those mamas who are listening?
Hmm. I think that God knows you were he exactly the right parent for exactly that kid, that
Yes.
child. Like God knew, and he will give you all you need to whether it's strength and energy to get through the tough days, whether it's wisdom to steward them, to grow into little people who love Jesus, and are functional in society, like, yeah, he will give you what you need. And I think that's where the dependence on him, it continues. It's not like, oh, like, okay, well, I have my baby now. I have my kid now. Thank you, Lord Jesus. And I will see you at the end of days. But I think we
Right.
continue to need to depend on him in that
Yeah,
process. But the perspective does help because we forget it's been 6 years,
we
and
do.
I forget how hard it was. And so
Mm,
there's this line in here that says, when you're out running and climbing and busy, and trying to catch you just might make me dizzy, then I'll remember there once was a time that I could only dream that one day you'd be mine. And
mm.
so, like, that perspective, that step back, I feel like that gives us the inner strength and stability to, like, okay, let's get back in there. Let's get back in there, and on the hard days, and parent with grace and truth.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good, Ellis. I love that. Let's take that a little step further, as I know you're so passionate about us as parents, making sure that we are constantly communicating to our kids what a miracle they are and how
Hmm.
loved they are. And so how do we do that in the midst of the craziness and the forgetting, like you talked about, the longing that one day
Yeah.
you'd be mine, now they are.
Hmm.
And so how do we do that practically in a way that our kids are not like, please not again, when they get older? But in ways that we can nurture that relationship and just remind them of their preciousness and the fact that they are a
Mhm.
miracle to us.
Yeah, I mean, I think even if they're like, no, not again, they could
Yeah,
never accuse you later of being like, you never told me that I was loved,
right.
or. So I'm like, even if it's not again, keep going, keep telling them
Yes.
of their belovedness, keep preaching it to them. I mean, I think I tell them that, like, I love them, and what Asian culture. So I'm second generation Taiwanese American, and I didn't grow up with words of affirmation at all. It was just like, you're doing things wrong, be better, And so
Okay.
I am like probably too, if you can be too outpouring of words of affirmation, but I'm just like, you're so wanted. I just love you so much. I'm so glad that
Oh,
you're mine. God gave you guys, and I tell them, like, God gave you guys to us.
yeah.
So yeah, I tell them that often. I have a friend on her 30th birthday. She was, uh, I think we were celebrating her, and I think she was wrestling with some self worth, self value things. And then, as I was talking to her, I found out that she was the result of an IUI, and her siblings were results of IVF. And I was like, they wanted you so bad. Your parents went through like great lengths to have. They wanted you. You were
Yes.
their child of promise. Like, oh my god. And I don't think that
That's
it
amazing.
ever been declared to her, as an adult,
Yeah.
up until adulthood in that way. Like, oh, they waited for you. They wanted you so bad. They went to great lengths to have you. You were an answer to prayer and a promise fulfilled from God. So, I mean,
Yeah.
that was like another one of those. This is why we got to tell our kids. We got to tell them how wanted and
Yes.
and what an answer to prayer they are.
That is beautiful. Thank you for sharing
Mhm.
that, because we
Yeah.
do, even as adults, we need those reminders, and especially
Oh
to
yeah.
have that as her personal story. I mean, that's really, really cool. And
Hmm.
you have to be careful with that, especially in adoption world. It's like, there can be a lot of pushback with all of that. Like, your parents rescued you and your parents are like, no,
Mm,
like,
yeah,
we
yeah,
longed for you. We sought
yeah,
after you, but ultimately we
yeah.
sat back and waited in hope for the
Mhm,
Lord to bring you to us, because that was his beautiful design. So that's a whole other
mhm.
episode in of
A
itself, but
whole
I love
other
that you
can of
say
worms.
that, right? Whole
Yeah,
other
yeah.
conversation. But Alice, I am just so grateful just to hear
Mm,
your perspective. It's beautiful. The book, y'all, it
thank
is
you.
stunning. As we're coming into this holiday season, I always like to offer resources to our parents to go, hey, this is a great way to celebrate your story of foster care
Mhm.
adoption. Every child is a miracle. So I cannot recommend this book enough. And now that you've been able
Thank
to
you.
absolutely love Alice as much as I do, you're going to want to connect with her further and get a copy of the book. So, Alice, how can they do that?
Okay, you can find me at alicematagora.com. And also my Facebook and Instagram and TikTok handles are all at Alice Matagora. So just my name, keep it nice and simple. You can find the book wherever you buy your books. So Amazon is great, Barnes and Noble, I'm sure it's all out there. So yeah.
That's fantastic. Okay, listeners, I always have those in the show notes. And if something that we have discussed or leaned into today just really struck a chord with you, caused a further question that maybe we didn't speak to, there is an email address in show notes that goes directly to me. I love hearing from you. And I know if there's something further that we need to dive deeper into, another question, I would be happy to stay connected with Alice and share those questions with her as well. So please feel free to use that email address. I read every single one and love responding to every single one. And so that is just another gift of the Called to Love community, that we're able to do that and support one another. So, Alice, I am so grateful for your time
Yeah.
today and just your beautiful story and the beautiful resource that the Lord has inspired you to create. And please keep
Thank
doing
you.
it, and please keep sharing. You are just a beautiful light. And I'm so grateful that
Oh,
you've been my guest today.
oh, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for listening to Called to Love today. I love to hear from listeners, and so I would love to connect with you to hear your stories and answer your questions right here on the show. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram, send me a direct message, or send me an email at the link in today's show notes. I pray you have been encouraged by today's episode to walk in faith and continue to embrace your own call to love. Until next time, blessings, sweet friends.